Hello, my name is David Apple, head of the SaaS vertical here at Sage Intacct. Thank you for joining us today. We've got a lightning round presentation just talking about 3 signs it's time to invest in scalable back office solutions. If you're at that great point of growth, you might be going through some of this right now. Let's talk about what you can do in empowering yourself. So I want to start off with this. We built this with one of our former investors, Jeff Epstein from Bessemer Venture Partners. Jeff's one of those people who can take the incredibly complex, make it very straightforward. They're on the left-hand side of the stages of funding. Look which one you're at. The next one over is just what should you do with the funds? What are you really trying to accomplish? At seed, product market fit, get 10 ecstatic customers that will evangelize for you in the marketplace, not just 10 customers, 10 evangelists, manage cash. Series A, prove the revenue model that you can distribute efficiently the product and the value that you just created. That's defined as getting growing 100%, getting at least 75% of the reps making their number. Make that repeatable. Series B, show that you can have net expansion revenue model, which means you get people to buy from you a second and third time. Now you have to track upsells and renewals and put it all in one place. Big growth stage coming after that, make it repeatable, start to manage gross profit. Later on, take what hopefully is a highly efficient, capital efficient machine, move it to adjacent markets and adjacent geographies. This is the backdrop upon what it is you're trying to accomplish. So 3 things we want to cover: the 3 signs it's time for you to invest, a peer's journey, and 5 steps you can take. Quick thing on me, quick thing on who is Intacct. We're the leader in B2B subscription financial management. We're very honored, appreciative there, and the leader quadrant with G2. Peers just like you voted us in that position. Honored, humbled by it. We've got the complete workflow you need in order to be successful. So the 3 signs it's time for you to invest: quote to cash, revenue and spreadsheets. If you're living that, you know what I'm talking about. Challenging forecasts. The executive team needs to know what's going on. It's difficult for you to pull it together. First off, sign number 1. Let's slow it down for a sec. Quote to cash is broken or delayed. If you're going through this right now, you know what's going on. Sales booking the orders, sales ops is putting them in. If you've got a high volume business, there's just a lot coming at you. Maybe, starting to get 300 plus or minus orders coming in at you. If you're high ACV, a lot of complexity, and trying to get those in with how the procurement teams are on. And you're probably living this right now. The challenge is down there at the bottom. Everything's manual. You can't track. The invoices are delayed. Volume's picking up, but you won't scale. There's a place you can go now. But if you're dealing with this, just get real-time Salesforce integration, because if you can sync the item and the customer master between Salesforce and the financials, this is what allows you to automate. You automate billing, automate revenue, automate invoicing, automate reporting. Everything becomes faster because of the automation. And you get some great outcomes from here. If you can cut order to bill down, you can get DSO down and get operational cash flow up. That is building a great business. Sign number 2, calculating revenue recognition in spreadsheets. I don't know what you're living through right now. I have seen some whoppers when it comes to RevRec, an incredibly complex and a dependent RevRec. And if you're doing this, you're spending a lot of time in it. And this is where when you're starting to manage upsells and renewals, and then with ASC 606 or IFRS 15, dealing with it in Canada, you need to know what the performance obligations were up front, both the explicit that you got in the contract and the implicit ones that are just part of your perhaps business conduct guidelines. You have to track all of them. If you don't, you got delays, perhaps inaccurate valuation as you're trying to raise that next round, because people want to understand what deferred revenue looks like. And if you have complications in the data room to pull that together, it can slow you down, and you're wasting people's time and you're wasting morale. But again, there's a solution to do this. So if you think about the order and across the life cycle, not just of the order, but the customer, and you automate that, building on the last one, the item comes over with the close from Salesforce. You already got the revenue rules put in there if you're doing daily or monthly or straight line or some sort of complexity. If you got MEA across bundles, which some of you do with your higher ACV models. Taking this and automating this can reduce the close period. You can do it without adding more back office expense. And then having a tighter revenue with the tighter close gives you much better revenue forecast that you're trying to get done at the end. Forecast, or sign number 3, forecast is difficult, particularly right now. People want to do scenario planning. They want to understand the multiple options. If you hit your worst case, medium case, best case, and if you're trying to pull this together across many orders, across many customers, and do it in spreadsheets, it just breaks. You might be going through this right now, and it's slow and it's late, and the problems can just come from all this. And the issues are you're making decisions in a vacuum, so you might be blowing capital you don't need to. Competition's moving faster and adjusting more nimble than you are. And then what's worse is all the risk we all take and join the companies that we're at is the chance of losing the competition. God, it gets my grill. I'm sure it does for you. And so there's a way around it. You can predict it, because once you automate all these downstream pieces, I'm going to show an example of this in just a few moments. You can start looking out, and if you got the contract master, you can see what you expect revenue, billings, and cash to be, and then you can start making much better educated decisions, like tighter cash forecasts leading to much smarter alignment than when you're going to do hiring plans in order to get things in. So that was the first issue we're going to get through. 3 signs it's time to invest. Quote to cash is manual, RevRecs and spreadsheets, can't forecast the future. Let's talk about a peer's journey. This is a great company that spoke with me at our recent Intacct Advantage conference and joined me in for my keynote for this. Expel and the team there just went through all these 3 things, perhaps the same things you're going through. There's a lot to read on this slide because it's a big story to tell. But even with COVID, there's our top line. They still increased gross margin because everything was manual there in the top line. They automated it, tied into Salesforce.com, and not only handled the volume, but created new models. And you're able to track both revenue expenses against those orders that came in. They automated finance and RevRec. Look at that. Took the close down from 30 days to 6 days, right there in the middle of the screen, the Sage Intacct. And they can close revenue. It's so funny when Zach tells a story. He closed revenue in 2 seconds, the time it takes to push a button. And there's extremely clean due diligence when they raise funding. And then the third part, all that data moving out of being Google Sheets into much more robust ability to forecast and cohort analysis. And it's not just the data itself that created the gross margin improvement, but it was having the data faster to be more nimble and adjust to what's going on allowed them to improve gross margin. And I love the quote from Zach because it's very personal, it's very human. It's what we're all doing with big decisions we need to make. We're very honored to be able to go down this path with him. And as always, as people, process, and technology working together, we've got our part that we play in that, but it's also a great team being very thoughtful on how it is they want to bring value to their customers. So what can you do about it? Got the 3 challenges. There's an inspirational story with great outcomes for both the individual level and the corporate level. What are the 5 steps you can take? Now, I've done 135 interviews with our customers, and so this isn't a David or an Intacct opinion. This is what your peers all said. In this kind of pattern off Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You start at the bottom, you work your way up. Just get the order in the financial system. This is where the integration with Salesforce comes in. Because when you do that, you get the order invoice out faster, you speed up cash flow. Automate the billing so you can get creative, because you can use billing as a strategic weapon for different value creation and differentiation from your competition. And then allocate your revenue across the multiple revenue types you have. And when you include expenses, and you can see over the customer lifetime, that gives so much greater faith and valuation for the fundraising that you need to do. Once you put in all that infrastructure, it gives you great real-time dashboards. And when you integrate it via API with other systems, Salesforce or your AR or your expense reporting, other systems, and then across multiple entities you might have as you expand geographically or make some acquisitions, and tie in the dimensions on the general ledger entries as you put them in, then you can create some cohorts. All that infrastructure, and only after you put in that great infrastructure, you can forecast, because you want to be confident for the big decisions. And gosh, winning feels good. The whole reason we take risks and be on the size companies that we're at. So that's just getting a couple examples on this. And step 1 that we just laid out. Once you integrate this information into the contract, that's when you can automate billing and handle the add-ons and the pieces that come in later on. That's your foundational layer on tying in the item master, the customer master, the order master, and having it all come together. Step 2, there's a multitude of different ways you can price and bring value to your customers. Some of you might have older perpetual licenses that you have, maybe an acquisition or something else, moving to SaaS. There's so many different variations on usage that you can do with tiering and wherever that data might come from. And then if you've got a sales assisted, a little more complex a model, you're trying to take in services with all the different billing models and then handle with multiple currency, taking advantage of or staying ahead of tax. All this is possible, and that's how the steps in the pyramid build on top of one another. And then I love this. This is a screenshot from the product. This is, your peers have told us they just love it for the ones that are doing spreadsheets. If you have to do deferred and sales revenue against unbilled, billed, and paid, you know how big a pain in the keister this can be. We'll automate that for you. This can come out real time. Zach's little story on taking him 2 seconds to press of a button in order to see this. Your close becomes so much faster. You put your time. Another quote from one of our customers is they move from being 80% transactional to 80% strategic. That's where the fun part of the job is, seeing patterns that other people might not have been able to see because you got access to the data and the time to put in there. Then step 4, you put in all that great infrastructure, build the dashboard. Time and time again, when we show this to CFOs and the executive team, they get so excited because it's real, it's financial data. CRM data is rarely audited, and so people use it because they got more control over it, but it's not as realistic. Here it is on the financial system, and again, with the statistical accounts and all the dimensions that come in, this is superimposed SaaS metrics data, not only just the GAAP financial data that you have to manage against. KPIs are there at the top. You can adjust them to say what time periods they are, the ability to have other information, CMR waterfall, where your CAC is, and this ties back to the stage that you're at that we laid out in the first slide. You can build the metrics you need for what you need to know now, and you can also put yourself in a position to start knowing what the metrics are that you're going to need in order to prove the next revenue level. If you can already prove it, if you already can do the job and show you can handle it as you're raising the funding, you're going to get much better. You have the potential, at least, for much better outcomes in the fundraise and competition you've got coming in. All of this you're able to double click on in order to drill in, get more information, and again, share this with the peers. This isn't isolated to just finance, but you can share it with the product team about hiring. You can share it with the sales team, where new sales or customer success team, if you have such a team, professional services, so everybody can see how they're trending towards the business. And then back to that third issue that we got, the nirvana that comes out of all this. This is a sample of a contract closed in 2018, the ability to look forward across billing, cash, and revenue to see what you can anticipate and expect. And from this then comes the faith and confidence on decisions. This allows you to be more nimble, to move faster than your competition in order to get things out. So there's the 5 steps as we laid out: quote to cash, flexible billing, great rev rec, and then beautiful dashboards, ability to forecast coming off the tail end. The 3 things we wanted to cover, the 3 issues that you could potentially have of quote to cash is manual, rev recs and spreadsheets, hard, difficult ability to forecast, the Expel story on going through this just like you perhaps are right now and having the financial outcomes that come out that, like anything, results may vary, people, process, and technology, but there's out there. And then the 5 steps that you can go through in order to make this more successful for yourself. Short and sweet. Thank you very much for being interested in going down the journey with us. I look forward to the opportunity to spend some time with you. You're some great hands with BAASS and the team and the expertise and the brand and the follow through on customer success that they've built, Joe and team have built over time. Hopefully, perhaps you and I can meet at some point in the future, and I wish you a great day.